Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and Louie Gohmert, not a perfect politician. I don't know that there are any perfect politicians. Gave a speech that was largely ignored in the press, if covered at all. I couldn't find it anywhere. Instead, I just found something where he said that he was the dumbest member. In fact, the dumbest member of Congress, and he admitted to that. You know, we're going to type his name in live as we do this, just so I can explain how ridiculous this is. And guys, finally did it. Got the Brave browser. Was not digging the Firefox. So far, Brave has been superior. We'll see what happens. So let's type it in. Louie Gohmert. And what are we going to get for some highlights here? I see the Twitter. What's in the news? And let's see what we got. Yep, SAT scores would shock people that think I'm the dumbest guy in Congress. Again, dumbest guy in Congress, dumbest guy in Congress, dumbest guy in Congress. And the thing is, he gets up there and he starts talking about the Orwellian society that we're now living in. He gets up there, he starts talking about how language has been changed, okay? The amount of censorship we're seeing, which is all real. Guys, I'm now almost 2 minutes deep in a video, okay? I have 61,000 subscribers. There are less than 15 people watching. Let me repeat that. I got 61,000 subscribers, and on YouTube right now, less than 15 people watching. And maybe, just maybe, that's because what? Oh, we got censored on YouTube again. I keep telling you to make the Rockfin account. Make that free Rockfin account. Basically, right now, they just took down my Operation Warp Speed video from 7 months ago. They didn't give me a strike for it. It was with Whitney Webb. There is no medical misinformation in that whatsoever. You can now watch it at the Rockfin or at Odyssey exclusively. You know, obviously an extremely important video, almost an hour long, on real facts, real subjects, okay? And YouTube, it's weird. They didn't give me a strike for it. No strike, just said it's medical misinformation, just like this propaganda that's now trending on YouTube. Businesses can ask customers if you are booped up without fearing legal repercussions, according to legal experts and fact checkers. There hasn't been one court case that's decided that, by the way. There's not one court case in favor of it at all. Okay? See, they're trying to say that just HIPAA rules do not prevent businesses from inquiring. Okay? I mean, Snopes said so. We need to sue these people into the ground. And that's why I'm going to be playing this Gohmert clip. And Louie actually has the honor of being one of the videos that's been completely censored here at YouTube because he said Erica Caramello Bar's real name. I also want to start with this, too. Louie ain't perfect. In fact, Louie's opinion on what's going on in the Middle East right now and my opinion differ greatly. And he talked a lot about this. These were open session speeches. So he talked about the conflict in Gaza. I have a strongly different opinion there. And then we'll see how long we go in this one part of the video where he's talking about January 6th and this hearing that they want. Because he talks up the 9/11 Commission as though that was a bipartisan effort. Yeah, it was a bipartisan effort in cover-up and treason. And those that spoke up against it, who were in there like Max Cleland, had to leave because it was so corrupt. Okay? So, guys, if you are watching 5 minutes deep, the less than 40 of you, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. We're going to play some of this Louie right now. And again, this Orwell stuff, it's common sense. This is like a common sense statement. And I know some people are going to get their feathers ruffled from daring to see that, he talks about BLM, but there are members of Black Lives Matter that don't want the traditional family in the leadership. They want to eviscerate it. And for me, you can't tell me that children don't thrive better with a strong female and male role model on both sides, no matter what they do and how they act, as long as it's in a positive manner. Okay? It's imagination land. That is how families thrive and survive. And then really, communities are built around those families.
Basic goals of BLM was to destroy Western-style families. And I shrugged to myself, Western-style families? Those aren't Western-style families. That came from Moses. And Moses said it came from God. It wasn't Western civilization-style families. It was what Moses said when he said, a man shall leave his father and mother, a woman leave her home, and the two will become one. And then when Jesus was asked about marriage and divorce, he quoted Moses verbatim. A man shall leave his father and mother, a woman leave her home, the two will become one flesh. And then Jesus added a line that Moses had not used, and that is when Jesus said, and what God has joined together, let no one separate or pull asunder.
So let's stop it there. I know some people aren't into the Bible verses, but hey, Gomer believes what he believes, and quite frankly, I don't knock religious people, especially ones that are nonviolent. I want to say thank you for a couple of these tips. Kevin, he says they love our fearless leader, Zombie Joe, here in Denmark because, well, most of them are zombies too. Good people, though. If you didn't watch my earlier Zombie Joe video, it is out there. I'd encourage you to check that out. Jean World says the Anglo establishment is finally falling. It's our time to rise up and create a better world. Listen, by a better world, we need to hold a lot of people accountable. We need to, shine the light on a lot of dark institutions. We need to let people understand what the true deep state is. And then Kevin Pass says, wasn't 9/11 report like 85% blacked out? No, they say they don't even have a, a secret version, a classified version of the report. Although you can see some of the draft chapters that were leaked by the Dark Overlord. And we've covered that in the past, actually. So here we go, Louie. Let's go.
And then later, the Apostle Paul quoted Moses and Jesus. So knowing all that, when I hear BLM wants to destroy Western-style families, they're not Western-style. They're Mosaic. They're from Moses. They were as confirmed by Jesus. This is the best building block for a society, for a civilization. So naturally, if you're going to take us into, anyone's going to take us into a totalitarian government, Orwellian government, where I know we don't say Big Brother anymore, so Orwell called it Big Brother, say that. But now, under the current rules of the House, we would say Big Sibling.
I mean, come on. That's like straight out of Orwell, the control of language, getting rid of the use of common sense words.
Big Sibling, totalitarian government with a ministry of truth that every day rewrites history to make the government look better. And then, of course, they have the ministry of love so that if you say anything that's different from what the ministry of truth said you had to say, then you're picked up by the ministry of love and tortured for hours, days, weeks, months, or years until you disclaim what you said about the ministry of truth's inaccuracy. So those are the kind of things that Orwell wrote about in the late 40s. He had been through cancer treatment, so some think that that's what gave him inspiration for the kind of torture that the ministry of love was putting people through. But he went up, as I recall, to Scotland and wrote from friends' home there the book 1984. And as I've said before, the only thing he appears to have gotten wrong was the year. It wasn't 1984. But we're seeing these tactics. We even have people proposing here at the Capitol that we should have a ministry that specifies exactly what truth is, and then anybody that says anything different than truth that the ministry here or the federal agency here puts out, then they should be able to be arrested for a crime going against. I'm going, wow, that's right out of Orwell.
So right now he takes a break from that, and he's going to start talking about the Capitol in a moment. That's where we're going to go after this. But every single member of Congress and the Senate should be talking about that very subject because it's the real deal. And we got another tip from Kevin. Calling the crayon black is racist now, and Jean World says Orwell was in the room when they planned this all out. It's not fiction. Hence, how it's playing out before our very eyes. So, Louie, in the next clip here, really, this is a long one. He talks for quite a while. We're probably not going to play the whole thing, but we're certainly going to play some of it.
Anybody that engaged in violence here on January 6th should be punished. And any such violence should not be minimized. As if I were still a felony judge and people that had engaged in violence on January 6th here came before me, I would have no problem sentencing them. We can't have that kind of conduct. And as I and so many of my friends have said repeatedly, the most effective protest is peaceful protest. Learning from the incredible Christian man, Christian minister named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Weather Underground, Bill Ayers' friends, they tried violence. It didn't work. They didn't accomplish anything. Of course, then when they started moving into universities and getting tenure and teaching children to love socialism, they became much more effective than those days when they were blowing things up trying to kill people. But there's so much more to be helped by peaceful protests. Make your voices heard. And just as the president said on January 6th, it needs to be peaceful, but make your voices heard. I would love it if our friends across the aisle had been as condemning of people in Antifa or BLM that engaged in violence, or people that chased my wife and I down the street after the president's speech at the White House last year. I wish people on the other side of the aisle would condemn those things as well. Some of us condemn violence on both sides, no matter who it's supporting. It's wrong and should be. But it turns out it wasn't all violence here at the Capitol.
In fact, how much footage do I have to show you guys? There were those concentrated small pockets. Now, I did not go inside. I wasn't there when they rushed it. But again, it looked more like a concert. Anybody up in the stands, forget about it. The police got up to the top level after they stopped macing people as they started running up. And even the police macing people in that manner, it wasn't like those folks got into fights either. Other than that one tunnel where I did tape all that violence, that was very real, right? I mean, how many people are talking about the fact that a sledgehammer got passed up and then handed to the police? On video. So, again, perception versus reality.
This is an article by Julie Kelly. She's probably done greater research and reporting about January 6th than anybody that I've seen. This article from May 16th says video shows U.S. Capitol Police gave protesters okay to enter. Now, we know that there was some violence here at the Capitol. There was. And of course, it was the Capitol Police that shot Ashley Babbitt, killed her, Navy veteran, but a military veteran. She was unarmed. But And we also know that after hearing that it was armed, that these people came ready to shoot members of Congress, that at least for weeks there was no arrest, no charges of anybody in the Capitol for having a firearm. Some apparently used a flag, a couple other things in an aggressive manner, and if they assaulted someone with those, they should be severely punished. But it wasn't an armed as we think of now. Maybe if you were back in the 1500s, you would say they were armed if they had a little baton, like one 18-year-old had that stayed in jail for weeks and weeks and weeks in solitary confinement, 23 hours a day, while people that had burned and looted and killed in other cities, part of Antifa and those protests, even the vice president back then was trying to raise bail money for them to help get them out. Not so. No help for people that were jailed from the January 6th incidents. And as I understand, there have been over 450 people arrested, and many of those, it's been reported, we had many federal agents show up. The folks from a couple from Alaska had their homes ransacked before the federal agents finally accepted the fact that the woman was not the woman they had a picture of who had stolen Speaker Pelosi's laptop.
Now, I just want to stop you here for a moment. Had their homes ransacked. He's going to get into how some of these people are still in jail. Some of them are in solitary confinement. Again, police, FBI, you've never talked to me. I was there, and I can guarantee with these false hearings, no one's going to ask me what my opinion was. Okay? They're not going to show my videos. I can guarantee you that also. Again, there's nothing to charge me with because I didn't do anything illegal because I didn't go inside. And you can clearly see me within the vicinity of other accredited journalists, authoritative sources that went up there. It would be very hard to convict Jason Burmis of anything because he didn't commit a crime. But just on the very basis of assault or trespass or assumption of assault or trespass, they are treating these guys like, when I say guys, men and women, like hardcore criminals.
You would think, as sophisticated as law enforcement is now, that our federal agents, FBI, would have been sophisticated enough to know whether somebody in the picture was the person whose house they were ransacking. But then again, FBI is the only law enforcement entity I'm aware of that still doesn't like to have any video of statements made by potential defendants. They prefer to write their own version of what the defendant or the target says so that they're not contradicted by having audio or videotape somewhere. But in any event...
And they got plenty of that audio and videotape, by the way. Jan World says, we need an anti-left paradigm protest movement to fight these elitist cowards. We can't let them divide. Is all we have more in common than we don't have at the end of the day. We do all have more in common. It's the weirdest thing. I'm looking at the YouTube stream, right? They say like 110 people are watching. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 comments. We've been on for 20 minutes, and we have 8 comments in the live chat. Is it just stuck on my end? Is there more than 8 comments? Like, what is going on here? YouTube, like, give me a break. That thing, Rockfin. ROKFIN.com. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share, and if you can, make a premium account. Support me. Let's continue.
Julie Kelly's article says, newly obtained video shows United States Capitol Police officers speaking with several January 6 protesters, including Jacob Chansley, the so-called Q shaman, inside the Capitol that afternoon. One officer identified in the video and confirmed by charging documents as Officer Keith Robichaud appears to tell Chansley Chansley's group, that they won't stop them from entering the building. Quote, "We're not against. You need to show us," or "No attacking, no assault, remain calm," Robichaud warns. Then Chansley and another protest instruct the crowd to act peacefully. "This has to be peaceful," Chansley yelled. "We have the right to peacefully assemble." The video directly contradicts what government prosecutors allege in a complaint filed January 8 against Chansley. In the complaint, and this is a quote, "Robichaud and other officers calmed the protesters somewhat and directed them to leave the area from the same way they had entered. Chansley approached Officer Robichaud and screamed, among other things, that this was their house and that they were there to take the Capitol and to get congressional leaders." Well, that's not on the video. And then when you see that you have feds that have made these allegations in writing and actually signed their name to them, well, that kind of gives us an indication why they don't want the 14,000 hours of video that would show everything that happened here at the Capitol. They don't want them released. They're fighting against releasing them. They don't want people to see them.
And remember, none of this is in the media right now. All of it should be available. Again, who died? Babbitt. That's it. We still don't know who shot her. If there was violence on any of those tapes inside the Capitol, they would have been plastered all over the media by now. All over the media. And yet, no. And yet, they still have this pipe bomber on the loose. The one that beat all the track trace database surveillance society. So weird. Kevin Pass says, if cops open the gates in some cases, wouldn't that be entrapment for those who went inside? Oh, my goodness. Forget about it. Of course.
Which is a bit unusual because in the United States, one of the points of the revolution was to have an open government where you didn't have secret prosecutions and secret evidence like the Soviet Union would use, like Kafka talked about in his book, The Trial. And yet, often these days, you'll have a SWAT team of federal agents swarm and arrest people. Like we had a hearing some years back. My friend Bobby Scott, Democrat from Virginia, and I were both very concerned about the civil rights. And we didn't know what political party, if any, that these people that were being abused claimed, but we knew they were being abused regardless of race, creed, color. They were being abused.
And that's so important. Listen, I'm going to stop it there. The new civil rights movement, that's whether you realize it or not, because you're caught up in some kind of social justice warrior bullshit, okay? It's been going on now for over 20 years and was really kicked off via the War on Terror, where people of every religion, every gender, and every color need to unite against a predator class hell-bent on using the media military industrial complex against all of us. All of us. They want to set all these precedents of wrong think, of one answer, of a ministry of truth and love. Please.
And the federal process was being abused. And that has gone on in Democrat, Republican administrations. It ought to be a concern to everybody. Mm-hmm. And so secrecy surrounding January 6th just should not exist. There's no reason for it. Let everyone see exactly what happened. Don't try to hide the facts. Don't pull an FBI and only give us a written account of your interpretation of what was said and done. Let us see the video. And don't edit it. Let us see the video. We're trying to hide the 14,000 hours of videotape. Who are you trying to hide? Why are you trying to hide it? Well, this story gives an indication, perhaps, why these things would be hidden. And yes, I'm extremely conservative, but it doesn't matter who is being abused by abusive law officers. Truth and justice need to rule out. And this raises great concerns. So we're not under the rules of the House. We're not allowed to run videotape or audio tape. So the best we could do is have blow-ups.
Which, by the way, I think is ludicrous that they can't play video or audio tape in the House because it's so important.
This is Mr. Watson. Doesn't look a whole lot like me, but Mr. Watson had said the police here are willing to work with us and cooperate peacefully like our First Amendment allows. And the video reveals Officer Robichaud, and he's saying, we're not against you. You need to show us, do you understand, no attacking, no assault, remain calm. And then you have Mr. Watson, who comes back and he turns to the group there and says, we're not going to assault. We're going to be heard. Everybody, this must be peaceful. So there were people engaging in violence for which they need to be punished. And there were people who were trying to engage peacefully. And that was most of the tens of thousands who were outside the Capitol, that didn't come into the Capitol, that had been down for the president's speech at the other end of Constitution or Pennsylvania Avenue, that didn't even have time to get up here to the Capitol before some folks entered the Capitol.
That would be me. I didn't get there till well after the Capitol was entered.
So there is a lot that needs to be learned, and I hope that we will have friends on the other side of the aisle who will join us in demanding the release of the 14,000 hours of videotape. There's a story from Fox News. Politico reporter falsely suggests U.S. Capitol Police condemned GOP lawmakers for opposing January 6th commission. That was an anonymous letter. We don't know if it was more than one, who it was. Were they all Capitol Police? Was there more than one? We don't know.
So for those that don't know that story, basically an anonymous letter, okay, with the Capitol Police letterhead came in and went after members of the Congress and I guess the Senate in the Republicans that would not want this witch hunt, this unbelievable commission set up. And now that's what we're doing. We're intimidating people anonymously without signing our names. I mean, this is why I don't like masks either on any side. Say it to my face. Have a spine. Patty Weimer says, have you seen the movie Those Who Wish Me Dead? I have not seen that. I have not seen the film Those Who Wish Me Dead.
Because it was anonymous. And then the Capitol Police came out and said, we're not taking a position in this whatsoever. Now, the Mr. Watson, New York Post reported, and this is Elizabeth Elizalde, she reported back January 13th that Mr. Watson was out on bond for trafficking marijuana and LSD at the time he traveled to Washington, D.C. He'd been out on a $103,000 bond in a drug trafficking case. Well, that's not somebody that should have been leading a protest here in Washington, but yet here he was, and even then, he did not want to engage in any violence. But then I ran across this story from May 7th And I'd not seen this story until this week. I somehow missed it. The lamestream media did not appear to be reporting it. This is from the Orlando Sentinel, and it's an AP story, so I don't know why more places didn't get the story out there. But it's from Tallahassee. A Florida man was convicted Thursday of trying to organize an armed response to supporters of former President Donald Trump for an expected gathering at the state capitol in January ahead of Joe Biden's presidential inauguration. Daniel Allen Baker, 33, of Tallahassee, was convicted of 2 counts of transmitting a communication in interstate commerce containing a threat to kidnap or injure another person. Baker used social media to recruit people in a plot to create a circle around protesters and trap them in the Capitol, according to the FBI. Court documents describe what it said were a series of threats of violence made by Baker, along with a prediction of civil war.
And again, social media threats from people that they've got it all. They've got it all. They've got it all. They got it all. And I'm seeing in here saying that the Fed's footage was taken by the YouTube channel, Convo Couch, and others, also Feds. Just so you understand, I know people that got arrested and had their phones taken. I got 3/4 of the one gentleman's footage, and the 2 videos that were inside the Capitol I wasn't able to get because Dropbox, I didn't realize it, but they now put a 2 gigabyte cap on you for if the other person doesn't have a premium membership. So listen, there's even more. You can go to C-SPAN. You can watch Louie Gohmert talk about this, but I think we're going to end it there. I want people to thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Please remember to Rockfin. Make the free account. Again, it's tough to even get people over here. 170 people watching after 30 minutes. Okay, great. But we have 61,000 subscribers. There's no reason we can't have 170 people watching live over at Rockfin. JasonIsVoid@yahoo.com is the PayPal. Jason Burmis is the Venmo. But premium subscriptions at Rockfin are the way to go. If you endorse me and then you get everybody else's content, it's a win-win for everyone. And I just want to say, look, this isn't about left or right to me. It's about conservative or liberal. This is about right and wrong. And if we allow them to demonize people for speaking their voice in most cases and allow them to keep calling this some kind of violent insurrection in which it was not, we're all going to lose. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.